There's a Swiss Army knife nature to the position.
It's a little bit of a hybrid spot. Versatility is the main name of the game.
That spot can't be for everybody. Every corner cannot play nickel. It has to be a certain kind of guy.
Some people just call him the nickel. We call him the star.
What's good, y'all? Welcome to 7 Series Football, where we optimize for realism, efficacy, and immersion in college football 26. My name is Justin, and as you saw from the intro, we are going to be covering the slot corner or the nickel position today. This is going to be the third video in a series in which we go position by position and role by role to build out an entire match-based defense. So if you haven't seen the first two videos, go check those out. It'll obviously help contextualize everything that we're gonna talk about today, but also for the rest of the series. A couple rules before we go ahead and get started. If you learn anything at all, you gotta drop me a like. Also, if this video changes the way that you see the game or the way that you plan to play the game, the way that you plan to build out your team, you gotta subscribe. I think that's more than fair. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into it. If we're going to understand the nickel, we have to understand how this position came to be in the first place. So we're gonna go through a quick history lesson. Traditionally, offense's aim was to control the game and win by running the ball. They'd often use formations with multiple running backs or multiple tight ends like you see here to supplement their ability to block and run the football effectively. And the defenses would line up accordingly. As you can see here on the screen, 18 of the 22 players on the field are all standing within this 15-yard box. However, as we got into the 90s and definitely throughout the 2000s, the spread offense and its principles began to infiltrate and evolve the way that offenses attack defenses. Two of the main emphasis of the spread are firstly throwing the ball at a much higher percentage, but secondly forcing the defense to guard the entire width of the field as opposed to these compact formations like this. And as these ideas began to take hold, offenses began to remove one of those running backs or remove one of those tight ends and replace it with a third receiver. So now the defense has a problem. They can't line up and play with 4 defensive linemen and 3 linebackers anymore because at this particular spot, we have a bad matchup. We don't want to have our linebackers responsible for guarding wide receivers one-on-one in space. That actually would be playing directly into the offense's hands. And so defenses began to swap this third linebacker for an additional defensive back, typically their third corner, bringing the total number of defensive backs to 5, hence the name nickel defense. That's because there are 5 defensive backs. So now, theoretically, we can match up on this wide receiver. But there's still a bit of a problem. That linebacker that we took off the field is typically really good at playing the run, and he also can help out in the pass rush. And our third best cover corner isn't really suited to do those things. But despite that, because of where he's lined up, he's still gonna have to help out in the run game, and he's definitely still in a position to generate some edge pressure. And so as defenses began to evolve alongside the spread, they began to understand that this position, a lot like slot receiver, is a whole new position unto itself. And so it went from our third cornerback who plays in the slot to the nickel, or the star, as we'll be calling him. Obviously, this is a hybrid position, and so we are going to split up his duties into more linebacker responsibilities and then more defensive back responsibilities. We'll go through both of those, and then we'll talk about how those translate to the ratings, and then we'll finish off with the archetypes. So let's go ahead and get started. Firstly, we got to defend the run, and that's going to be pretty straightforward. We're gonna avoid or defeat any blocks necessary and bring down the ball carrier as he bounces to the edge or gets up to the second level. Now, while we are expected to help out with defending the run, we're technically not in the box. However, that linebacker type skill set is still very necessary and very important because of the RPO game. Just like a linebacker would with a run, we have to diagnose the play that is unfolding in front of us. Then we have to avoid or defeat any blocks that we may encounter, and then make secure tackles on the ball carrier once we've finished our pursuit. This play is a great example of what I mean by defeating a block. Here, this offensive lineman actually does make contact with us, but we're able to stand our ground and bring down the ball carrier for a negative play. We touched on this a little bit in the safeties video, but blow up is going to be the best ability for helping you take on blocks like this. I chose this next play because it shows the importance of being a secure tackler on top of being able to pursue. You can see from this angle that if we don't make this tackle, this receiver is probably getting another 8 to 10, maybe even more yards. So good on 9 for denying the big play. These linebacker type skills don't end with the run game or the RPO though. We can get involved in the pass rush too. Because of our 5-man front and our alignment, the O-line doesn't pick us up and we're almost able to force a safety. Then we've got another look at this, but this time from an inside blitz path. These two offensive linemen can't see us and these other two are occupied until it's too late. And so we're able to come in scot-free and actually get to the safety this time. Madden had a pretty decent freshman showing last season playing star, but now he's moved outside. Then we've got one more blitz rep from our current star, Juan Malden. This ball is snapped at 156 and we're home by 154, so very effective pressure here. Real quick, if you made it this far in the video, drop me a like. Clearly you entertained. Also, check and see if you're subscribed. On the road to 1K, I would love to hit that fairly soon. It's free, doesn't cost you anything. All it's gonna do is make sure that you keep seeing dope videos like this, so it's really nothing to lose there. All right, back to the video. All right, now let's talk about the defensive back or the coverage skill set of the nickel. I'm not gonna go over what to do when playing what coverage because honestly that depends on the routes you get from the offense. And there's a ton of videos on YouTube that'll explain that. But generally speaking, we'll be doing one of 4 things. We'll be matching routes to this quarter flat area, reading route distributions as a part of a coverage unit, carrying routes vertical from the slot, which is essentially playing man-to-man. And if none of those things are needed, then we're free to zone up and look for work or spy the quarterback. But let's take a look at these in action. In this first clip, we're gonna see our star match this tight end to the flat, but notice how he hangs on top of number 2 before biting down and taking that man-to-man. And we know it's man-to-man because his eyes are locked and no longer on the quarterback. And I don't know why Kari's celebrating this completion, but whatever. This time we're gonna hang in the window for number 1, but it's really just to bait the quarterback into throwing to the flat. We do this successfully and get a pick 6 out of it. And an awesome photo, if I might add. Not all plays end up attacking the flats, but when that happens, it doesn't mean that we don't have coverage responsibilities. We're often matching these receivers in partnership with our safeties, and so to help them handle these vertical routes, we can chuck the release of these receivers so that they're not getting up to our safeties at full speed. And you can see how much easier Michael Taft is able to maintain leverage on this post route because we were able to push his stem outside. This next play is an even better example. We're still gonna get that same chuck from our star on number 2, but he pushes him so far off his stem that it ruins the spacing and the timing of this play and allows our safety to make a play on the ball. But I want you to notice that in addition to the chuck, our nickel is still matching this running back to the flat. And so he's combined the tasks from the previous 2 clips and carried both of them out. And so just like our rover safety, we're putting a lot on this guy's plate. And I'd say that to drive home the point that this cannot just be your 3rd best corner. This needs to be a special designated position unto itself. Which brings us to our last and arguably most important of the DV skills, and that's going to be carrying vertical routes, which is really just match coverage language for can you turn and run with receivers in man-to-man coverage. Now, we are running mostly match, so there is some reading involved here, which we'll touch on in a little bit. But for right now, your ability to carry verticals is decided by whether or not you have the skill and athleticism to cover slot receivers on an island. In this clip, we're going to get what looks like normal zone play art, but when the ball is snapped, you'll see that it's firstly not zone, but you'll also see the athleticism required from our star to get out of his back pedal, flip his hips, and turn and run with this streak. And here he does a great job of denying this route with a little bit of help from the safety. Here we get another look at this time guarding a slot fade instead of a normal go ball. And we do end up getting some safety help late, but Malden would have been fine without it. And this is my favorite rep that we're gonna cover. We're gonna get this corner route from the slot receiver. But if you look closely, our star breaks on this before the receiver even makes his cut. And we just missed the pick here, but that's my boy Juan Malden for you. All right, so I mentioned earlier that when we're going to be playing match coverages like this, our nickel is going to have to do some reading. And so I have to emphasize the importance of the play recognition attribute. We're going to look at two plays with the exact same coverage call from the same game that happened almost right after each other. But one rep is going to be Juan Malden, who has a high play rec rating, and one rep is going to be Maurice Dumaine, who has a lower play rec rating but better athleticism. And first up, we can see Juan Malden flawlessly execute his assignment. On this particular call, our star is playing a 3-2 read. So when the ball is snapped, you'll see him open up to number 3, make sure he's going to get passed off to the linebacker, and then he mans up number 2. But while he's checking number 3, he's staying in the window to deny the throw to number 2 the entire time. Obviously, we force an incompletion, but let's check out Dumaine now. All right, so like I said, we're going to get the same coverage call, which means we're getting the same 3-2 read from our nickel. So when the ball is snapped, he's going to open up, make sure number 3 gets passed off to the linebacker just like before. But notice how much he lags when it comes to latching on to number 2. And this is basically a guaranteed touchdown if our pass rush doesn't get home. Mind you, Dumaine is the better athlete. He's faster than Malden. But because his play rec is lower, we see he nearly busts the coverage on his own. All right, now in this last clip, I just want to highlight the reading that's necessary when you're going to play star in a match type system. So our corner and our star are going to play in and out on number 1 and number 2. So the X receiver and the running back. They both drop with the vertical stems of the receivers, but once number 1 makes his in-breaking cut, they communicate to each other. Our star takes the receiver, and our corner bites down to the flat. Here it is one more time at full speed, but man, look at this pass rush rep. Shout out to my boy Hobby, man. All right, let's get into the key ratings now. The skill set of our star is most similar to that of our rover safety, so that's who I'm going to compare it to in this diagram. Firstly, just like before, we gotta be able to move, especially considering we gotta flip our hips when we're carrying verticals, so change of direction is once again a non-negotiable. And that's same with the match coverage ratings. Play rec, man, and zone, you kinda need them all. Also, like we covered with the linebacker type responsibilities, we've got to be able to pursue and tackle, so also similar to the rover there. Now, similar to the ranger safety, we got to be twitchy. Again, we got to carry vertical routes from the slot, sometimes with no help over top. So being able to turn, run, and instantly get to top speed is extremely valuable. Then when it comes to the coverage profile, we've got to be really, really good in man coverage because that's going to be a lot of our responsibility. And so while I said the rover probably needs to be 50-50, I think the star probably needs to be 65-35, maybe even 70-30 with a man coverage tilt. Lastly, if you can manage to get some pass rush moves, that'd be phenomenal too, since we are going to be helping out in the pass rush more than our rover safety. But generally speaking, the deception and the speed of a blitz from the nickel should be enough to get you by when it comes to rushing the passer. All right, so let's get into the archetypes. First up, we've got hybrid safety once again. And this is really good because it allows you to have a very physical presence in the run game. This is more like the big nickel role, as they would call it, when you have a box safety playing at the star position. However, the hybrid is way better suited than the box specialist here because, like we went over in the safeties video, they can upgrade their change of direction and become very, very fluid athletes that are able to cover one-on-one in the slot. Also, they can get really good at coverage really fast because they upgrade man and zone at the same time. Then to cap it all off, we get blow up in the ability stack, which we talked about in this video and in the safeties video, is probably the best ability when it comes to stopping the run for anybody that doesn't play on the defensive line. Pair that with knockout to get you some PBUs, maybe even hammer and aftershock, and you've got yourself a very disruptive and really a complete player playing at the nickel. Forcing in completions, blowing up runs and RPOs, laying big hits on really everybody, including the quarterback. That'd be an awesome weapon to have. Definitely takes some work and some development, but also definitely doable. Maurice has had a pretty decent start to the season for us. Couple deflections, tackle for loss, decent amount of tackles. But he is also splitting time at this position. Dumaine has really good box skills, and so he plays that big nickel role for us. But our coverage-based star is Juan Malden. And because of these players' versatility and the similarity between the positions, they both swap in and out between playing rover safety and playing at the star. And that's dictated by what we're trying to take away from the offense at that particular time. But let's focus on Malden right now. He's a field corner, and like we covered in the safeties video, they don't come in with really great speed, but they do come in with amazing COD. Typically, they got pretty good man coverage. Juan definitely did, and they're decent at defending the run. But I really love their ability stack. Robber is awesome. It makes all lateral movements and change of direction super responsive, so definitely love that. Blanket coverage makes their coverage super sticky, like y'all saw on that corner route. We talked about knockout with the hybrid, definitely good for forcing PBUs. Ball hawk is cool, but I feel like an improved break on passes can be achieved with just upgrading acceleration. I guess if you can't upgrade the acceleration, go for ball hawk, but I don't really view it as a necessity. And then wrap up is always decent. And then Malden's having a pretty good season as well. Both of them are active tacklers, get in the backfield. We got a PBU in there as well. So very happy to have both of them and hope to keep the pair together for another year. We're going to wrap up with the zone corner, and maybe I shouldn't even because I really don't love them at any position really, but they're really good swing DBs. Like Braylon here is a backup for like every position in the secondary, and we rotate, so he does get to play at every position in the secondary, and you know, he's passable. The main thing that I wanted to highlight is the bouncer ability that activates whenever we get that chuck activity that we covered earlier when it comes to the flat zone responsibilities. And so whenever this ability activates, you make the receiver significantly more tired. And if that's happening over and over and over, you can force offenses to start rotating receivers, which obviously is to your advantage. So I wanted to give him a little bit of credit there, but not a huge fan of the zone. So when it comes to the archetypes, it's going to be practically the same as the rover safety. I think a fully fleshed out hybrid safety is the best archetype to put here. But if you need a little bit more coverage focused or earlier on, I would say probably a field corner. But overall, hybrid safety 1, field 2. Field is going to obviously be your better man coverage option. And then lastly, I guess I'll nominate zone corner as honorable mention. Once again, I think blow up and robber are the best abilities here, but there's no archetype that gets both, so it's what we got. I guess while I'm here, I can also revise one of my takes from the safety video. Once again, I ended up playing with a boundary corner at safety because he had really high pursuit, and he has been balling out. I want to say he's leading our team in tackles thus far, so I got to nominate boundary safety at really both of the safety positions. So shout out to my boy Oscar. He been hooping. You're a guy. You changed my mind. All right, that is going to do it for the nickel, or the star, as we like to call it. We went over the history of this position and how it came about. Went over some of the key roles and responsibilities and how those translate to the ratings in the game. And then we ranked the archetypes according to those responsibilities and ratings that we went over. Hopefully I was able to shine some light on this position and help you guys understand it, to the best of my ability. Star and rover safety are probably my 2 favorite positions in any quarters or match type defense. So definitely had a lot of fun putting these together. Let me know what you guys thought of this one. Give me some feedback on the intro. I personally thought I kind of slid with that one. But give me feedback in general. Let me know what you guys are thinking of the series so far. Tell me how you feel about nickels or slots. Do you see them as like third corners, or are they their own position for you like they are for me? We probably got another 5-ish videos left in the series, so definitely not anywhere done. We've got a lot of studying to do, a lot of deep dives left. So definitely subscribe, be on the lookout for that. I think that's all as for now. So like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.
Texas. I did this shit for Texas. A-Town. Nigga, Triple D. Can't forget San Antonio. I was born ready to get it on.